That's the liners now sealed into the block. And I've measured the clearance because they need to be, what was it? 0.05 to 0.152 mil above the actual block, the deck of the block. Now, I haven't done this ideally. What you really do is use the old head gasket, partly torque the cylinder head onto the to stop the liners rising. I haven't got an old head gasket, so what I've done is I've checked they're in the right place. As you can see, got some weight on top of it. Once it's all set, I will recheck the clearances in the top. If they're out of spec, I'll have to knock the liners back out and redo them, but fingers crossed that'll be alright. Thankfully, borrowed an oil-filled heater from a friend, so I can actually warm my freezing garage up, so the silicone oil's actually set off. So next job, tidy up a load of this shit and start working on the head. Right, well, the liners have now had time to set. The silicone. Granted, as I said, I didn't do it ideally because I didn't have an old gasket to bolt the cylinder head down, but I've checked them. They're within spec. What I did is I put an old water pump in here, filled this right up with water, left it for a day. Nothing seeped out, so I'm happy with that. That's all sealed. Also knocked out the dipstick tube because I know it leaks on my current engine, and I've put that in with a bit of Tiger Seal, so hopefully that won't be a problem anymore, or on this engine. Next job, I'm going to start putting the crank in, I think, or I might actually Loctite the oil gallery plugs in first before I forget about them, then flip it over and put new crank bearings in, put the crank in, and then check for the end play. That's the main bearings in the block, main bearings in the caps. Well, I've got a couple of sets of thrust washers here, so I'm going to go with the standard set, see what the end float's like. So I've just got them in place at the moment, with a bit of grease that hopefully hold them in while I put the crankshaft in place. I got some nice new, I think it's 1540 engine oil or something like that. That's all I had new. So we'll have a smear of that on there. And then I'll grab the crankshaft and drop them in. Yeah, a bit of a pig to film it, but hang on. As the crank dropped in, and my thrust bearing stayed in place, thankfully. Focus. So I got caps oiled up, and the front main bearing cap with thrust washers on with a bit of grease again. That goes in, yeah, that way around. Line it up, come on. Come on, you little bastard. Tight fit that one. We got the rear bearing. I'll put that in backwards. Oh, come out, you little fucker. That way around. There we go. Centre bearing. We'll play with that, it's a bit tight. There we go, just need a little push. So we got all the bearings in. Crank sat in there. Let's get these nuts on. These are only temporary at the moment. I just want to torque it up, check the end play. I'm going to be replacing these with some flange nuts that they use on mini cranks because it's got a bit of a lock-in bit on the bottom. This is what I've been advised by someone who builds these. He's a lot more knowledgeable than me on building these engines, so I will go with his recommendation. Right, you don't want to watch me put nuts on like that, so I'm going to get them on, torque them up, check the crank still spins. What I do need to do is to put the gear and the Woodruff key on, tighten this bolt in the end, because what he explained to me is sometimes you will lose all end play as soon as you tighten that up. What he's had to do on some of his engines, he told me, is put a very thin spacer behind this washer to stop it clamping up. So we'll do that. Well, that's the crank in. Mains are all tightened up. Cam gear's on. Pulleys on. Bolts tightened up. Crank spins freely. Now before I put that on, there was quite a lot of end float. Now I've put this on, as I was advised, roughly checking it with feeler gauges, is think I've got about 0.1 end float. The manual states between 0.07 to 0.076 to 0.0279. Now I do need to check this properly with the dial bore indicator, but hopefully that's alright. It spins nice and freely. So obviously you need to do some proper checking with that, but so far I'm happy. That's about all I can do with the engine block for now, because I need to order the gasket set so I can put these in, because there's the little space packing pieces, plus I want to order the, as I mentioned, the mini nuts, put them on, retorque them, get the end float checked, get the new bearings so I can get the cam in, then I can get the oil pump drive in, and then the head's going out next week or the week after to get skimmed, and then that's getting close to final assembly when I order the rest of the bits. So I think that'll do for the video now.